Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining me today for our Nimble training webinar. My name is Michaela Underdahl, and I'm Nimble's community manager. If you have any questions during today's session, please use the question box to let us know, and my colleague will be compiling them and will spend about 10 minutes at the end of the session answering them. Today's session is also being recorded, so if you want to rewatch it later or send it to somebody, just keep an eye on our inbox and we'll be sending you follow-up emails. And during the next about 45 minutes, I will take you on a tour through the entire Nimble app. I'll go through it really fast because today's webinar will be focused on using the browser extension to help you prospect smarter. So again, if you have any questions, if you want me to cover anything specific, just let us know in the comments and I'll make sure to cover that. So before we start, what is Nimble? Nimble is an easy-to-use customer relationship management tool that helps small to medium-sized businesses and entrepreneurs to manage their business relationships better. It integrates with both Office 365 and G Suite, and it unifies all your contacts, calendars, and communications into one place. We have all the basic CRM follow-up features like that you can use to schedule to-dos for yourself or anybody on your team and make sure that things are getting done and nothing is falling through the cracks because everybody struggles with that. And on top of that, Nimble also has a segmentation feature that allows you to segment your database into targeted groups, as well as group message feature, which you can utilize to message these segments and then get insights on e-clicks and opens. Nimble also has deals and pipeline management feature, and we also have some basic reporting, so you can report on your sales activities. Nimble costs $19 per month per user when you pay annually, and when you pay monthly, it's $25 per user per month. So here we are in the Nimble application. The first time you log in here, this is where you will land. But if you're just getting started, or maybe if you haven't used Nimble in a while, I would recommend going into settings and you go there by clicking on the circle in the top right corner right here, and you'll go to networks and imports. This is where you can connect all your emails, your calendars, you can connect your social networks, and it's also a place where you can import your contacts. And if you're interested, next week on Wednesday, I'll be hosting a webinar that will focus just on importing contacts into Nimble. So we will cover how to use the CSV file import, how you can import LinkedIn contacts, how you can use our PySync integration, which allows you to integrate with, I think it's close to 200 service software as a service applications right now. So we'll be sharing a link how you can sign up. So that will happen next Wednesday. So here in Networks and Imports, I would recommend going here periodically and just check in that everything looks good. Sometimes you might see a little red error here. So if you notice, if you see the error, or if you notice that maybe your emails are not syncing, you can just go here and disconnect it and connect it again, and that should solve it. If at any point you struggle with connecting anything or anything causing you problems, you can always message us at care@nimble.com, and one of our customer service representative will be more than happy to guide you through it and solve it for you. As you can see, I connected both my Outlook calendar and Google Calendar. So same as I mentioned about emails, you can use basically everything to connect into Nimble as long as it's an IMAP account. If you need to add more users to your account, you would do it here. You would select add or remove licenses here, then invite users, type in their email info, and this is also an important place where the account admin can delegate permission to other users. So you can, for instance, restrict certain team members from being able to bulk export or bulk delete, or even configure pipelines, or this is where you can set the deal privacy. So I'm going back to the Today page. I'll just go over the app really fast. If you are interested in more of a deep dive into the entire app, you can go on our YouTube channel and watch some of my past webinars. And I'm also hosting a CRM overview on October 23rd, and I'll go over the entire app in detail. So on the Today's page, the idea is for you every time you log in the morning to know exactly what are the things that are most important and all the things you need to get done that day. So one box or widget, we call it, is called Task. This is where you'll see all the to-dos. You can see the to-dos that you created or those that have been delegated to you. This is where you would see signals from Twitter. We also have email tracking. If you're a Gmail user, the email tracking will be available on the native Gmail app as well. If you're an Outlook user, you will only be able to use the email tracking inside of Nimble. Another box that's worth mentioning are events. This is you'll be able to see everything that's on your calendar. And as you can see, you can connect multiple calendars to Nimble and then just toggle between them and select the one that you want to focus on. We also have a great feature that will help you to stay in touch with the most important contacts in your business. So this is where you would see all the reminders that you set up. We also have a feature that's called highlighted contacts. And in settings, in highlighted contacts, this is where you can tell Nimble what the important keywords and titles are. And then once you start importing contacts into Nimble, Nimble will be matching these keywords and titles against the bios of the people that you already have in Nimble, helping you basically discover more people that maybe you are not staying in touch on a regular basis, but maybe you should because they are similar to the people that you are already doing business with. We also have 3 sales related widgets here. So you can see the deals widget here. So you can see the list of your deals. You can toggle between active ones, those that have been won, and those that are yours, or see the entire team's view. You can also see a stage funnel here and a pipeline chart. For some reason it's not loading here, but you would be able to see nice pipeline and get visibility into what's going on with your pipelines. The most important tab probably inside of Nimble will be the contacts tab. So I'll quickly go over what we're seeing on this page. You can, this is where you can kind of segment your database. This is how you would be able to see all the contacts that you have in your database. This would be the total number of all the contacts that you have in. You can also see just people, just companies, those that you marked as important. You can mark contacts as important by clicking on the star here, or those that have been recently viewed, added, contacted, or those that you set up a stay in touch reminder for, and you do it by clicking on this clock that you should always be seeing to the right of everybody's name. You can also use our search in Nimble. You launch it by clicking on contacts and then clicking into the search box. So you can use these quick filters that we call them, or any filters that are existing in Nimble. So it's those that have already been there, those that are default ones added by us. And you can also edit your own custom fields inside of Nimble. You get to customize, you get to create up to 5 of these tabs and then customize what you're seeing here. And you can then search the database on all the fields that you have created, which is really useful. So this is what the contact record looks like. You see the basic stuff like the first name, last name, their title, the company they work for. This is where all the networks they are active on would show up. So then you'd be able to click on it, go to the specific social media network and find out a little more about them. You can add notes to contact records, log any past activity, or schedule anything that's in future to-dos, events on your calendar, or calls, and we also have custom activities that you get to set up in settings. I mentioned at the beginning that Nimble allows you to unify all your contacts, calendars, and communications into one place. And this is where you would be able to see it. So if you're just transitioning from using just Outlook or Gmail, you have Outlook contacts, you have Google contacts, but it doesn't give you the entire view into what's going on with the person. So this is what we're trying to solve. So under interactions, you'll be able to see everything that has been done with the person. You'll see all the calendar events, all the meetings you've had with the person. If there are any deals with them, you would be quickly able to see them here. Once you start doing a lot of things with the people, it might be easier for you to just focus on a specific one. So if you're looking for a note, then you would go in here, or if it's a specific activity, like you knew that, you met with them, so that would be on your calendar, or if there was any custom activity that you created. So that could be in-person meeting, or it could be a trade show or a conference. So you get to set these up in settings. This is where you would see all the messages that you have exchanged with the person, and those would come from your email that you've connected to Nimble previously. And if you're a Twitter user, they would also come from Twitter. I'm going to go back on this page and again show you one more time how you can launch the segmentation, and I'll show you a quick example how you can use it. So for instance, I would be able to pull a list of people that I have previously tagged, and then I could use these filters to further refine the search by location. So maybe I just want the people that I tagged with CRM that are located in Santa Monica, California. And on the left side here, you can tell Nimble if you want to focus on just people or just companies, or if you want to show both. You can also play with the field here and tell us if you want us to match all of them or any of them. And you can also add a specific group. So that would be useful if you wanted all people to match a specific tag, but then you would want them to match any of the other fields. So for instance, they would all be tagged current clients, but they would match any of the following locations: Los Angeles or Santa Monica, because sometimes we grab the location from different places and it really depends on the location that people give us. So then you would be able to select individual locations and come up basically with a list of all your clients that live in the Los Angeles area. And usually the next step when you come up with a search is either to tag them. You can also export them. You can delete them, but most of our users use it to then email them. And the way group messaging works inside of Nimble is that it actually uses your email provider. So that's why the limit is also pretty low. When you sign up for Nimble, you get 100 messages per day per user. You can upgrade up to 300. Very common question we get is if this can replace MailChimp or Constant Contact or any marketing automation software that you might be using. And the answer is no. This feature wasn't created to help you nurture your network and save you time on sending emails that might be similar. So for example, if you're going to a conference and you want to meet up with a certain number of people, maybe all your existing clients that live in Vegas, then you would probably be sending them very similar message. So you could use a template and then send it to them, send a calendar link. Nimble will automatically grab their first name. And then to them, it will look like it came from your Outlook or your Gmail as a one-on-one communication. They will not know they were part of an outreach. This is where you could also select from which email address you want it to come from. You can easily copy and paste your signature. You can do so in settings. And once you send a group message, this is where you would see the insights on the clicks and opens. And then you could easily select the people that interacted with the message. Maybe they haven't responded to, but opened more than 3 times. So you could send them another email like, hey, just wanted to remind you that I'm going to be in Vegas and would love to take you for dinner. Activities tab. This is where you can, our recent feature is called Activities Listing. This is what you can use for for getting things done, basically. So if you have a lot of calls that day, you could use these filters and just tell Nimble to show you all the calls. You could completely configure the table here. So if you're maybe doing phone calls that day, you would want the columns to just show the phone number or any other fields that might make sense for this specific outreach. You can just check those that you want to show and uncheck those that you don't. You can drag and drop. So you can do that like this, and you can also pin some columns. So see, I have these 3 pinned. You can easily unpin them. So I really recommend taking a look at this activity listing, which you can use to make sure that everything that needs to get done gets done. You can also save the filters here and pull up only a list of maybe the calls that have been assigned to you. We have multiple deals pipeline in Nimble. So you can create as many pipelines as you want, and this is where you can customize them. You get to rename it, you get to set up the stages, you can also drag and drop here like this. You can completely change the name, the amount of days you allow each deal to stay in each stage, and so on. And then you are able to just quickly go through the individual pipelines here, and you can easily drag and drop. Or if you prefer a list view, you would be viewing it here. We also offer reporting, so you can report on the activities of your entire team or specific team members. You can report on individual pipelines or all of them. You can also print it out, save it as a PDF, send it to somebody on your team, or print it out to go over it in the meeting. And again, I apologize that I went through the app so fast, but I knew that there was a lot of people that were still in trial, so I was thinking it could be helpful to get a little more familiar with what the main features are before we move on to using the browser extension to prospect better with Nimble. So please, if you have any feedback, any questions, let us know in the comments. So now I would like to show you how you can use our browser extension. If you haven't installed it yet, you can go on nimble.com/widget, and my colleague will also drop the link in the question box. This is where you can install it. We have it currently available for Chrome, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge. We're working on fixing the one for Safari. And the way it works is that it basically allows you to use Nimble outside of Nimble. And the benefit is that we are all used to doing things where we are used to be doing them. We live in our inbox, we talk to people on social media, we prospect on different sites, we read information on different sites. And if we have to open another tab, log into our CRM, log the information in, sometimes we just don't do it because it's just too much and we have a long to-do list. So this is what we're trying to solve with this extension. So once you install it, you can also watch a video here that will guide you through all the details about how it works. So once you install it, and I'm on Chrome right now, it will look like this. It will be added to any of your other extensions you might be using, or it will be the only one if you're not really utilizing extensions. So you can just open it up, and no matter where you are on the internet, it works on websites, on all social media profiles, networks. It works in third-party applications. So as long as it's on the internet, then you'll be able to use it. So how you might be prospecting on websites. Sometimes you are looking for maybe you find the company that you want to get in touch with, and you would like to create you would like to add some information about them somewhere. Ideally, it's a CRM. So we're trying to make it easier for you. So when you can just open it up, and Nimble now knows that I'm on Nimble's website, and the fact that it's showing profile here, it means that I already have this contact record inside of Nimble, so then I would be able to update it. But if I didn't have the company in my Nimble, it would say that it's live profile. So I'm just going to go on let's see, Bank of America. I don't believe I have them in my database. Okay, so this is what it would look like. So it will tell me that it's live profile. And as you can see, these are all the things that we have been able to find about the company in the background. So if you think about it as how much time this could save you if you had to fill a lot of these fields into a spreadsheet, this can be a really helpful tool. So if I wanted to add them to Nimble, I would just click add. This is where I could update it. I could apply any tags. Or change any information. So this is one example how you can be using it to prospect. You can find information about companies, put them inside of Nimble, and you can also use it for individuals. So sometimes I find myself looking for the right decision maker that I might want to get in touch with on the company's About Us page. So Nimble will work there as well. All you have to do is to sometimes just hover over the name. Sometimes you'll have to highlight it. So again, I already have John inside of my database, so it's pulling up an existing record, but I might not have Sergey here. So Nimble should be creating a live profile for me, and it's already suggesting me his LinkedIn profile. It's suggesting me his Twitter profile. So this is how quickly I can build a rich contact record without any manual entry at this point. I have connected Twitter to my Nimble, so I can also follow Sergey right away. We also have a contact discovery feature, which is really helpful for prospecting. It works on credits. So if you first sign up for Nimble, you have 25 credits, and then you can upgrade. And if you're, maybe Megan can send you a link with more information about how to upgrade and the costs of it. But the way it works is that as long as you have the first name, the person's first name, last name, and you know what company they work for. Oh, now it filled in my information. Nimble should be able to find their contact information. So I would recommend testing it out, and if it's something that you feel like you might be you might want to use more, then we would be more than happy to give you more information about how you can upgrade. So my computer is a little slow right now, always happens. Oh, I just canceled it when it popped up, so I'll try again. These things usually happen on the live demo. It's being slow again. Okay, I'll just wait. Okay, so we always give you a percentage of how confident we are that the information we're giving you is correct. Sometimes you'll see not verified here. In that instance, you can still grab the email, add it to the contact record, but it might bounce. And because we were not able to verify it on the back end, and because it might bounce, we will not charge you a credit. So it's not ideal, but at least we're not charging you for that. So you can use the extension to find when you're going through companies About Us page to find who the right people to connect with might be. But many of you will probably be also searching other places. So sometimes for maybe even like PR purposes, what we do here at Nimble is that sometimes when we're launching something and we're doing an outreach to journalists, we want to get covered in places. We do a research and then come up with a press list. So you can also use this extension to do this type of prospecting. And one example, you could go onto one of your competitors' websites and then see who covered them. So the likelihood of journalists that covered your competitor covering you is big because they usually cover the topic. They don't really, they shouldn't be covering just one company. So you can use it to kind of spy on who the writers are that covered your competitor, and maybe you can add them to Nimble. See, I can just hover over the person's, even just his Twitter handle here, and Nimble's already building a rich profile for the person. I could quickly add him to Nimble, apply a tag, add him to Nimble, and then the next step for me would probably be going through his Twitter feed, seeing what articles he's written, what he's talking about. Maybe I would start engaging with him. And as I'm engaging, I could be using the widget to add notes to kind of track my progress with the person. Or if there's something that I would maybe want to assign to somebody else on my team, I could use the task feature and ask any of my team members to get it done. So maybe you also find yourself reading articles and you discover an article that talks about a similar topic. Maybe you would want to reach out to the person and see if they would be interested in any quotes, or if maybe you would want to network with them and see if they would want to cover you or your company in the future. So you could easily just go through the article and hover over the person's name. Oops. And Nimble will again build a record for the person. Now I had to wake it up. So see, it's already finding Kurt as a senior editor at Forbes. So that's him. I'm going to add it to Nimble. It also found his other profiles, and I can quickly add him to Nimble, mark him as press, and save. If for some reason it won't grab a profile picture, you can always click on it here and then select one. Another place that comes to mind that you might want to use for prospecting are different blog posts. There's a lot of lists that people come with, and these can be your prospects. We work with a lot of influencers and we build relationships with them, and then we get them use our product and then they talk about it. So many times we happen to be searching for the best sales influencers or marketing influencers, and when we find a blog post, which is a list of the people, we go through it, and if there's somebody that we would want to build a relationship with, we could quickly add them to Nimble the same way as I've been showing you, just highlighting the person's name, or sometimes just hovering over it, and then you can use it to build a contact record, tag them, schedule any to-dos. Sometimes you'll also be working on Twitter if you are a Twitter user. Looks like it logged me out. Okay, here we are. So one way to prospect is in your notifications. So sometimes people will be engaging with your content. Sometimes they'll be mentioning you. Maybe you were trying to build a relationship with a prospect and then somebody else is biting on the content, jumping in the conversation. And they might want to be a prospect too, because people tend to hang out with people like them. So you can just quickly hover over them. Well, usually, wake up, Nimble. All right, so here it is. Kate, again, it's finding her LinkedIn, it's finding her Twitter, and I can just add her to Nimble like this. Tag her and add her. So I use it a lot in notifications in Twitter. I go through my mentions and kind of hover over people that are mentioning me to find a little more about them, see if there's somebody I would want to build a relationship with, if I want to follow them back, or just find a little more about them than their quick bio on Twitter tells me. If you are a Twitter user, then you probably know that the home feed can get messy. Political stuff sneaks in there, it just becomes a mess. So I personally just try to stay away from even looking at my feed. And I use Twitter lists. If you haven't used them in the past, I really recommend taking a look because they can really help you to cut through the noise on Twitter. So you can use it for compiling a list of maybe Twitter hosts, maybe podcast hosts. Maybe you want to have somebody on your team to reach out to these podcasters and pitch somebody on your team that could talk about the services that you do and the problems that you solve for people. So you could easily create a Twitter list, and we have an integration with Twitter that allows you to easily bring the list inside of Nimble, but you can only do it for public lists. So the first one I showed you was a private one. So as long as it's public, you'll be able to quickly use this button, and you get it there by just downloading the extension. So it will plug in there automatically for you. So you would just click import list here. You could modify it, and then it would be imported into Nimble. You can also use the extension to go over these people one by one, learn a little more about them, really decide if it's somebody you want to add to Nimble, and then go over the similar process as I mentioned before. You can also, when you come across a conversation or interesting thread, that it might be worth checking out who the other people are that are engaging with it. So you could, again, just go over them and see if there's somebody that you might want to add to Nimble, and then start working on building relationship with them. And I know that not everybody's an active Twitter user, so I also want to show you how you can use it on LinkedIn. So of course you can use it on your feed. You can just hover over everybody and it will either show you an existing record, or you can quickly build a new record for them, put them on a nurture track, enrich it with the social data that we're finding for you on the back end. And then what I also do very often is seeing or spying on the reactions. So when my prospect posts something, I want to see who are the other people that are engaging with it, because it makes it really, really easy for me to build my prospect list that way. So I just quickly go through them like that, hover over them, see if they're relevant, if there's somebody that might benefit from whatever I'm selling. And you can also do it in comments. So let's find somebody who has some comments here. Yeah, so one thing to mention, as you can see, people often add their titles or their certification to their name. Sometimes that confuses Nimble. So you might then, what happens is, well, now it's not doing anything. Come on. Sometimes you can go on their profile, you can highlight it, and it should just pop up. If for any reason, and this can happen when people add whatever to their name, it gets messed up, you can correct it here. Sometimes we grab the first name and last name and put it in the first name field, and then add the title or their certification in the last name. So this is how you could correct it. Doesn't happen very often, but Nimble can get confused when people add stuff to their first name and last name. So you can also use it in search, and even if you're using LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you would be able to use it. So if I wanted to search for real estate people, this is how you can further refine the search. So I'll do in the United States, specific companies. I could also use the Nimble Prospector here. It works the same in Facebook. So again, you can just bring it up, and hover over people in Facebook, and they can be people on your timeline. It can be people that are engaging with them. Can quickly expand it and go through the list of them. You can do it on company pages. You can go on your competitor side, kind of go through the people that are engaging with them, people that are asking them questions, or even when you're doing a research about what are people saying about you and your brand on social media, you can quickly use the extension to find out a little more about them. You can also use it in any third-party applications. So if you're using Intercom, if you're using QuickBooks or Xero, these are all examples of applications in which Nimble will work as well. So that's all that I've prepared for you. If you have any any suggestions on places where you would want me to come up with some use cases on how you can use Nimble to prospect, please let me know. So our next training webinars. So actually the next that's coming up next Wednesday, it's going to be what we started calling a case study series. So we'll be inviting a customer every month to share how they're using Nimble specifically. So we'll have customers really walking us through their entire setup, showing us, talking about their use cases, and if they're using any integrations, like this company OMI is using 366 degrees for drip campaigns and marketing automation. So they'll show us how they all set it up and how they're benefiting from all these apps. On October 17, we'll have one of the experts that I mentioned. Her name's Liz Hyman. She'll be talking about how to use your funnel to grow your business. She'll be talking about how you can set up your pipelines, what are the stages that you should have, and she'll also be talking about her view on this entire thing, which is making it super simple. So she actually suggests only having five stages, and then everything else you do set up as activities. So it will be a really interesting webinar. On October 18th, I'll be doing a training webinar focusing on importing contacts. And October 23rd, I'll be focusing on, I'll go through the entire app in detail. I'll also show you our mobile applications. And on October 30th, I'll be doing a webinar about using Nimble to build your personal brand and use it for networking. So if you're interested in any of these webinars, you can go on nimble.com/company/webinars. You also find it on our homepage under resources, and you can register straight from there. If you're on our email list, we will also send you an email in which you'll be able to register. We also have a special offer for new users. You can sign up today and get 30 days of Nimble for free. If you're currently in trial, you can also take advantage of this, and you can just do so by emailing us at care@nimble.com. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you'll have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.